My mom's dad was a state trooper in the state of Alabama. He did it for years and years after he got out of the military. It was his whole career. He did it until the day he died. These are just a few stories about him. First and foremost, the most famous one is he was George Wallace's state trooper bodyguard. When Wallace was governor, he was always with him, just keeping an eye on things. He was in charge of the security detail. He was in charge of everything. He was even with Wallace during his presidential campaign. So he was there when Arthur Bremer shot him. He got shot too. But it was just a flesh wound, so my grandpa was fine. And his history tells, Wallace didn't fare nearly as well. But he was there. And supposedly after he got shot, he was still on the ground barking orders. He got in the New York Times for that. Even when he died, his obituary was in the New York Times. So that was pretty cool. That's kind of that side of the family's claim to fame. And it's pretty neat. They even, like, my grandpa even has I think it's a museum named after him in Montgomery for something. I've never been to it, but I know it exists. Because keep in mind, he died, I wasn't even 1 year old. So I don't remember him. My sister does, but I really don't. And some other stories about him is, like, there was another trooper that he had an old washing machine. He was taken to the junkyard. He did it by himself for whatever reason. And he was trying to get it out of the truck. He had a lot of trouble. And the washing machine was just heavy, unwieldy like they are now. And he got frustrated, so he took out his service revolver and shot it. And the bullet ricocheted off the washing machine and hit him in the leg. So he had to call for police and ambulance because he'd been shot. Never been shot in the line of duty, but got shot because he shot a washing machine. Another time, my grandpa had two brothers, and him and I think it was his youngest brother were going somewhere for whatever reason. I don't, never got the specifics, but what's important is they stopped for breakfast. They sat down. My grandpa sat down and his brother went to the bathroom. The waitress comes by and my grandpa tells her, "Ma'am, the man I'm with, I'm taking him to the insane asylum." And she started freaking out. He said, don't worry. He's not a danger to anyone but himself. He's really harmless. It's just he can't have any sharp objects. Other than that, he's fine. He's perfectly normal. Just don't let him have any sharp objects. And my great uncle comes back, sits down, orders the country ham, and brings the food back, and she only gives him a spoon. And he tries to wave down the waitress, and she keeps, like, ignoring him, not meeting his eye. He doesn't know what to do. And he finally gets frustrated because he can't get a hold of her, and he tries to cut his country ham with a spoon, which is very hard to do, if not impossible. Country ham, you need a knife. And he's doing everything he can to try to wave the waitress down, and he's just sitting there trying to eat his country ham with a spoon. So that's the type of stuff my grandpa would pull. And then my personal favorite, where they lived in Calhoun County, which is where all the family I got left up that, I got a lot of family left up that way. There's a pond, pretty good sized, and it looks a lot bigger than it is. And my grandpa, before he was married, was going to swim across it to impress this girl. And he got about halfway and cramped up and was drowning, and she had to dive in and save him. So, and the pond's still there. It is a lot bigger than it looks. Like, it's not something you can just swim across. And then the last one I'll tell you is, my grandparents got married young, which fairly common back then. Like, normal marrying age was very different than it is now. And him and my grandmother would go on dates, and he'd get him a milkshake, her a milkshake, and my great grandmother that sat in the back seat a milkshake. So I always thought that was pretty funny.